everybody, it's Monday night, which means it's time for the Troubleshooters, and I would like to apologize to everyone. Last week was upsetting because this is all I could sound like. I had zero voice. I had a fun weekend. I got to see my brother who came in from Texas, and we got to hang out. I had a good time, but I noticed that I started feeling like my throat was scratchy and everything. Sunday, I had no voice whatsoever, so I went to the doctor, and they said, yep, sure enough, strep throat. So your boy was no voice Monday, Wednesday, or I think about Wednesday it started coming back, but they had me on prednisone and everything. So anyways, now I'm back full force. You can hear me. I sound like a monster. And we're ready to play some games since we have one show left in this year, and that is tonight's episode. Unfortunately, we have Vixen will not be able to join us. They have a study group tonight, and so they had to make that because school is important. I fully support that. And then our good friend Voodoo had to work over, so we'll be joining us, but we'll be a little bit later today. Just an ASMR stream, just me going, all right, everybody, roll for initiative. Great. The bugbear comes in at you, swinging a glaive. They hit you. Does a 16 hit? You take 7 points of damage. That would be the weirdest. I don't know how I feel about that. I'd have to think about that. I think what I would do instead of whispering is just be very soft spoken. Just lower my tone. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Dire Bear ASMR. Tonight we've got a wonderful adventure. We're going to try to do it for a TPK. All right. Anyways, enough of that. Let's talk announcements. This is the last week before we take off. We do this every year. We take 2 weeks into Christmas and into the new year. So that being said, let me look at the calendar official. There will be no show on the 20th or the 27th. We should be back on the 3rd. If there's a change in that schedule for some reason, we will let everybody know, but our goal right now is to be back on the 3rd. So we'll be taking 2 weeks off. So that way we can enjoy our families and enjoy the holidays, give everybody a rest. That being said, we have a very special show coming up on the 23rd. It is not a normal stream. We are doing all of the DMs for Dire Bear Adventuring Company are getting together to do a very special evening. We're going to play some games, stream that live to everybody, and that is on the 23rd. So you guys should definitely come and check that out. It should be a lot of fun, and we're looking forward to it. More details to that to come, but I have seen, yes, Jason is in on that as far as I know. Everybody who is a DM has said, yes, I'm down for it. So that being said, we will have games. We've seen the overlay already, and it looks great. Thank you to Otter for putting in all of that work. Thank you very much for the clipping that. Our archivist is hard at work tonight. Let's see. What do we have coming up? So with the new year coming up, we do have new shows. I know that our Tuesday night gang, if I'm not mistaken, just wrapped their final episode for the year, as well as for that game, and they'll be moving on to what appears to be Star Wars, a version of it that is an actual, like, an older version that's been revamped. So definitely come check that out. Knowing Jason and how he runs games, I'm excited to see this getting played. My only complaint is that I can't be in there, but that's okay. Yes. It looks fantastic, so we're looking forward to seeing that in the new year. We will be seeing the return of Thursday nights as well as our Saturday nights again in the new year, so we're happy to see that. Um, yeah, I saw you guys making your characters early on, so I knew that that was coming up. So we're looking forward to those things returning in the new year. As far as things that are going on in Dire we have just a few episodes left in this season, and then we'll be taking a break. I know it seems like we just took a break for the holiday. Then we're going to have a few episodes, and then we'll wrap for another break. And then we'll have our fourth and final season of the Troubleshooters. Yes, you heard me correctly. 4, and that's it. We're done. Troubleshooters will wrap in the fourth season. Now, will it have 12 episodes? Depends. But we will wrap in the fourth season. Um, we're already in talks about what we're going to do for the new show coming up. And I think that what we're going to do is going back to some books. That's right. We're going to be running adventures that are coming out and have been out. And we will be doing a small team. I like the 4-person format. Maybe some of the same faces, maybe new faces. I'm looking forward to putting a casting call out of there and having people again apply to be a part of it. I am looking to run right now. What I'm looking to run is Wild Beyond the Witchlight. It's a lot of fun. It's kind of zany, lighthearted, and knowing me and how dark I can get at times, I think that it'll be a good lift for my spirit and soul. So I will look forward to running that for people, and we'll be going to a format where you will see the maps in Roll20. We will be using Roll20 as well as D&D Beyond to manage the characters and things like that. I do need a good balance. I am currently in the midst of writing a new. It's starting off as a story. I'm going to try to make it at least 9 chapters, but it'll be one of the first books that I've ever written, and it's looking to be interesting. I came up with the idea as a joke, and it started formulating in my brain, and now I've got the bug. So I'm very much a handwritten guy. It's weird. I either like a typewriter or a handwritten. It's green, so you can't see it, but this is the first chapter. You can't see it because of the screen, but got like the first chapter part of it written out. So, yep, I'm old school. I sit down with a notebook and I start writing, and eventually I'll move it to my docs, but for now, here it is. I would love to run Wild Beyond the Witchlight and Tailspire, and that's not to say that I won't, but that is going to definitely be a lot of prep time. The carnival aspect of it would be really difficult to do in Tailspire only because there are so many parts to it. That isn't to say I can't, but yeah, we'll see. And who knows? I may not run Wild Beyond the Witchlight. It might be something else by the time we come out with this, and it'll still probably be Wild Beyond the Witchlight because I'm really interested in it. If it isn't though, I already have in mind what I want to run. If it's not that, and I will use Tailspire to run that because I want to make those maps. Now, other things that we have coming up. In February, I will be in Fort Wayne, Indiana, running games for Winter Fantasy. I've already booked out myself for those games, and I will be there February 2nd through the 6th running games. Come up and see us. Is that right? Did I say that right? February 6th to the 2nd? January, February, yep, 2nd through the 6th. Yes, sir. 2nd through the 6th, and I will be there along with some of my friends here locally. So come out and say hi if you can. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's all Adventurers League with their adventure modules that they've written. Then in April, I will be running games for the Huntsville Comic and Pop Culture Expo. And then in May, the first undertaking of this sort for Dire Bear Adventuring Company, we will be the sole proprietor for all D&D games at the newly founded first inaugural RPG Con here in Huntsville. So all D&D will be run by Dire Bear Adventuring Company. So if you are local to me, I will need DMs. If you want to get in on this, this is a paying gig. I've got to figure out how I'm going to get all of that done because there's W-2s and tax, all this stuff. But yes, you need to make a Huntsville trip to DM, even if it's just 1 or 2. I will find room for you to jack up. So if you are interested in running a game for me and you are local, I'm looking at you, Voodoo. Let me know because I will need DMs. And again, it is paid. I'm working on ticket prices right now. So there's that. And that is in May. And it's coming up before I know it. So I've got to have stuff ready to go. I've got to have modules, D&D experience type things. I've got to have a lot of stuff going on. So here's to hoping that I can pull it off. Anyways, I think it's all the announcements I have right now. Don't forget in January, January 20 something of next year, that being 22, there will be released the expansion, the rules expansion gift set, and it's Xanathar's, Tasha's, and the new Mordenkainen presents the Monsters of the Multiverse. It's kind of a revamp of some different books put together under one. The alternate cover looks really great. It's stark white with just one like image on each one of them. Xanathar is on the cover of Xanathar's, obviously. Tasha's on the cover of Tasha's, and Kieran is on the cover of the Monsters of the Multiverse, and it looks really great. And that will be out again in January. Something I picked up, but I did not have here with me. I'm not at my studio. I picked up the Yawning Portal WizKids set. So everybody knows how much I love the WizKids tiles. And they have the terrain that you can put together. Well, they came out with the Yawning Portal in this terrain set, this locking piece set. And so I picked it up because it's the Yawning Portal, so why wouldn't I? But anyways, yeah, so last episode that we were here, a decision was laid before Moonin. He could help his father and cure that illness, or for a small favor, or he could let it run its course. That's his decision to make. They landed there in Norway and met with the family and found out that his father is quite ill, and it will take him. So tonight we're going to find out what that decision is going to be, as well as a slight time jump when things happen. Letters from Colm and more await us in this episode of The Troubleshooters.
Yes. There should be sound. Can you hear us? Hello?
Okay, you can hear us. So I will relinquish the floor to you, Moonin, as you discuss your options with your party.
Well, that following morning. Hold on. Boop. Gej is getting back to me real quick. Important sidebar here. Okay, good to know. Um, I would I would be out of the house early, making my way towards wherever the party was staying, hopefully catching them for breakfast. Looking very much like they didn't sleep well. Um, if you guys have a couple minutes, I think we need to talk. I I had another vision last night. This being says that whatever this is ailing my dad will take him soon, and my mother will follow swiftly behind it. He, they want to offer some kind of deal to rid them of this ailment, but my side of that deal would be bringing a piece of them, or finding a way to bring a piece of them to that room on the other side of the gate we found.
I don't think I know anything about you having visions. I think when this was initially brought up, you brought it up to Gej and Lysandra.
Well, wait. No, I think you were there for that because we were at the
We were
house
at
we
the
got from the
store,
leprechaun.
yes, but I think you sought out Lysandra and Gej for it because of also sending.
Yes. Well, now this is me approaching the entire group on it. This is obviously something I'm not going to agree to without talking to you guys and without talking to my parents, because I do believe they should have word in this if it's something we think might be worth looking into. Now, imagine this next couple sentences in Gej's voice. This is Gej's response to me asking them the question while they are not able to join us. His response would be he would go with the natural path. He understands how hard it would be to lose your father. In the same breath, he's fairly sure my dad would not want to have me compromise my life for his. I mean, if we are still on the warpath against whatever the hell this guy's name is at this point, I feel like releasing an ancient being into their domain might be not too far off from a big fuck you.
That's true, but you have to think of everything kind of in the long run. Um, Well, what kind of damage could this being do to our world, let alone whatever else is out there?
I
He's not going there just to learn about what he hasn't seen.
The wording he used is he wants it to be known to them. He could not see me in that place.
He wants to be known to them?
He wants to know of it. He wants a piece of his essence taken to that place so he can know of it.
And he
Correct
trusts
me if
that.
I'm wrong on that wording, Cap.
No, you're right. He's that it could not get where you were, and so it wants to go there so that it can understand it.
Mm-hmm. It
And you trust that.
not entirely, but it's also, I mean, if his only intention is knowledge, I don't know. This being has been rather brusque with conversation. But I have until I go to bed tonight to say yes or no.
Well, it's ultimately your decision, but every life comes to an end, no matter how you step in.
Mm-hmm.
I understand the loss, but along the same lines as what Gej said, would he want you to do something like this for him if your life could be on the line?
Well, that's my next conversation to have, I guess, is with them. I kind of wanted to see what your guys' thoughts were before I jumped into that conversation. Well, if if you guys wouldn't mind giving me the afternoon, I think I have a conversation to go have.
Of course.
Um, Solemnly get up and walk back home and go find my dad. He's just petering around the store.
Yeah. He is doing his things around the store, just kind of, he's there. He seems to be skillfully rearranging loose ends and junk from one spot to another.
Well, you look like you could use a shave.
Was only
Take
waiting for the proper barber.
take a break and come on over. I think we should have a talk.
He nods his head and moves over to sit in the chair.
And I will get to work on strapping a blade and working my way through a shave. While doing so, we need to have a conversation, and I don't want you to respond until I tell you the whole story. Things have gotten very complicated. I had another vision last night, and I will switch to telepathy. And this being I'm getting these visions from says this is going to kill you. And for whatever reason, after you pass, illness will swiftly make its way to Mom. They have put a choice in front of me to wipe this illness away. But in exchange, I don't know what they will do. They're asking a rather lofty favor with I'm not sure what intentions. I'm not going to make a decision for you guys. I don't want to lose you. But if you would rather let things take their natural path, I won't argue.
This illness, it'll take me and your mother soon thereafter. Is that what you say?
Yes. The visions and information from this being are the reason we rushed out here as quickly as we did.
He takes a second to look around the shop, like taking everything in. Then he kind of looks at you, like he's really studying you for a minute.
I have forgotten to switch back to using my outside voice, so my responses are still into his head.
I built this place with your mother long before you were around. I'm proud of what we've accomplished here. And I'm proud of the work that I've done and the people that I've influenced. I'm proud of the man that I became, lefting my own father behind. I'm proud of the family that I have. Most of all, I'm proud of you and who you've become. The wealth and measure of a man isn't in what he has here on the earth, but what he leaves behind. And I know that I am richer for having you and your mother. I could prolong this life, but at what cost?
Taking a seed of this being to, as I understand it, a different plane.
Son, what more could I do with this life, this old man? What more could I accomplish when I've already accomplished the greatest thing on this earth with you? I don't know what happens to us when we go. Sure, there's Tale of Valhalla, but I don't believe that's true. Not to mention, I'm not dying in battle. But more importantly, I don't know. I do know what happens to those who stay whenever we're gone. I don't know what would happen if you went along with this idea. But if you don't go along with it, I do know what happens. And I'm okay with that. It's a good life. I pray I not pass in pain, but I'm eased into the next one. Your mother.
Tears streaming down the face. If
Your mother wouldn't die from an illness, son.
if
She might die
these
from a broken heart.
if these are your thoughts on the matter, I'll stay till it's through.
Who knows? We may have all the time in the world. That time might be a day, a week, a month, but all of that time will be the time in the world. And I would be happy to have you here and your friends, if they so wish. Our home is theirs.
So be it.
So be it. We should
And
definitely tell your mother.
I will give him a big bear hug, and I guess go with him to find Mom.
You sit before your mother, one of the strongest individuals that you've ever seen in your life. This woman who in another time would have been a shield maiden, would have been on the front lines. And for the first time in your entire life, as you relay everything, and your father talks about the decision that he has made, you see her not as this towering Valkyrie, but you see her as a bit frail and afraid. The two of them embrace and spend their time talking, embracing you as well. That day is not the last day that tears have been shed, but as the days turn into weeks, which turn into months, you and the entire party spend every minute you can squeezing all of the life you can out of one day, out of each day. No trouble with the directorate, no chasing down villains, no any of that. It's just living a life and enjoying it. All of you. Two months have passed in that time. Your father is still putting around, doing things. You and he go fishing a few times. He is not a good fisherman, but he tries. When you return to the shop, Emerus, you already have them in hand. It's a small stack of letters, post-dated in order over the last 2 months. They come to you as a bundle, though, meaning that they didn't get to their original destination before they finally reached you. Each one of them is written in a very tight script, a very familiar-looking handwriting, as each one of them is signed Officer Colmhaim. The first ones write about him trying to tear down the directorate from inside, saying that this is something that he needs to do and that he has swayed several people to his side. He writes telling you that everything is going wonderfully and that he hopes that Munan's father is well. The next letter comes to you a bit more fervent, a lot less detail. Issues on the fronts. We seem to be fighting a losing battle. However, all hope is not lost. We found another doorway. The third letter comes to you. We've lost several of my allies. We still press on. We've collapsed the doorway. But there are others out there. The directorate will fall. The fourth letter is written fast, still in that tight script. This one punctuated more like a manifesto than a letter. Written front to back on the single sheet of paper. We can no longer hold out hope that the directorate will see the error of its ways. We can no longer hold out hope that they would correct themselves and find their ways back to the right paths. We no longer hold out hope that there are those who would mean good within the directorate. We will burn it all from the very foundation up, and let all those who stand in our way be laid waste. No more is the meek and timid calm here, for there is only the fire of fury in my belly. They have sinned against all of us, and we will have our pound of flesh. Let it be known that every brick, everyone who stands in their name, will be stripped and thrown aside, to tumble from their lofty posts down to the ground again. Know this in all that I do. I will tear them asunder, brick by brick. Well, I do hope that Moonin finds you, or I do hope that Moonin's family is well. Please note that I could use your help more than ever. My friends, we are in the final days of the throes of this dictatorship, the stranglehold of magic that they have, keeping the world at bay and under their jackboots, allowing none to move unless they say. It is time to throw off the yoke, rise up against our oppressors. The time is now for you to make a stand. Weep tears on the battlefields, my friends. Yours set with righteous fury. Calm. The only other thing on there is an address in London. A very familiar one. The bucket on the green.
Yeah.
Our cinnamon roll has grown up so fast.
Your cinnamon roll's gone spicy.
More of a savory roll now, you know.
Like a meat pie.
Yeah.
Like a ham and cheese pinwheel.
I guess the decision to be made whether we should go back to London or not.
I've done all I can here. As much as I would love for more time, it doesn't seem like we have a lot of it these days.
And
Your
we should-
father who is I'm sorry, your father
No.
who is he's still going, but you can tell that it's starting to take a toll. He's a lot smaller, like his frame. He's lost some mass in the last, couple of months. He's not moving as quickly as he once was. He's sitting at the table looking out the window as you ponder this, and he just kind of like wraps his knuckles on the table and he looks at you for a moment. Whether you stay or go, my passing will still come. I would rather see you fighting a fight that you believe in, knowing that in my final days, I saw my son as the hero that he was. Go. But as you do, know that I go with you always.
Is that tattoo artist still in town, Dad?
Yes.
I think before we leave, I'm going to spend some time there, if you wouldn't mind helping.
Of course.
And I'm not going to make us RP out tattoo session stuff,
All right.
more or less, Moonin will sit down and work through with Logi runes of his native tongue and symbols of protection of the same. And most of Moonin's torso and arms will be covered in them before we leave.
Yeah. All right. It's, it takes a bit of time, a few sessions, if you will. But eventually they're all done, intricately carved or, intricately done on your body, marking those. So, companions, friends of Culm, who now seems to be bearing a flag and an axe. Do you take off to London? What are your plans?
Well, we can try and ferry another ship there. It possibly might be advantageous for us to drop in outside of town and take the train in. A little less conspicuous.
You can land back in Scarborough, and then take a train to London.
Might be a little easier to blend in that way.
Mm-hmm. Let me see here real quick.
And yes, Voodoo, I do happen to have friends with cure wounds, so those tattoos heal super fast.
You could actually, take a ship to like, you don't have to go, because you go to Scarborough, you're looking at going to Leeds, Sheffield, all the way down to London. That's like a long trip, but you could take a ship into like the Thames itself, and then try to catch something out there. Which, like Southend-on-Sea, which is right there at the opening of the River Thames.
Would I know from my previous work any factions in the area that could possibly help smuggle us into London?
Because of your previous work, I think between you and, because what is your background again? Soldier?
For Moonin, it's urban bounty hunter.
Yeah. Yes, you would know some factions. Emrys, what is your background again?
Criminal spy.
You also would probably know some factions. Factions that are probably in opposition to one another, but still.
Factions.
Well, between the two of us, I think we can find someone to get us into London under the radar.
Well, I do have the criminal contact feature, so I could probably do a little bit of snooping, see what's up. figure things out.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So, do we
So,
want to start with the two of us reaching out and seeing who could help us, and then moving from there?
Sure.
all right. Roll. Hmm. Both of you give me just straight intelligence rolls.
Straight intelligence. We got a 10. Whole plus 0 for a total of 14.
+1 for a 10.
Okay. Um. Let's start with Emrys. Emrys, the issue isn't that you don't have anybody. You just this isn't the circle with where you ran, so
Yep.
you're having a bit of a time, especially since, if I'm not mistaken, there's also a bit of a language barrier for you. I mean, everybody speaks English, but
Yeah.
it's still trying to hello fellow criminals in English, and they're all speaking Norwegian. It's a little
All I know
dicey.
is English, French, German, and sign language.
I'm just
So
picturing the Steve Buscemi meme. Hello, fellow kids.
Hello,
exactly,
fellow
fellow
delinquent.
youths. Um, sorry. As for you, Moonin, you get a hold of some of your contacts that you used to work with, and they tell you, they give you a name of somebody that can help you get into London.
Okay.
You are going to have to go to Southend-on-Sea, where we talked about a minute ago, but it's not a very, it's a short distance, but from there.
Sure. What is this person's name?
They tell you that the name
Sure.
is Bradley Chance. Bradley Chance is the name.
Okay. I will share this information with the party, and it looks like I have a way to smuggle us into London. We just have to go a little outside of town first on the way.
Yep. They tell you that they will make the accommodations
Mm-hmm.
to make contacts, and they give you a drop point where to meet them. It's basically like a small place on the wharf, like a fishmonger's hut. But they tell you, once you get there, that you should be able to meet up with them.
Okay.
All right.
I'll say goodbyes to the family, pick up all of my firearms from the family.
All the guns.
Yes. This is the
As
most
you are
I've walked
getting,
around unarmed in a long while.
yes, as you are leaving, your mother comes back downstairs. She has a bundle, like a package. Um, she unwraps it, and inside is an axe, like a hand axe.
Mm-hmm.
The handle on it is long and it's slightly curved. You know that it's it's built so you can throw it. It gleams as most weapons would in her care. She's going to take the time to care for it. You know, you can see that there are runes etched on this blade.
Mm-hmm.
She picks it up, and as she does, she starts to swing it in her hand, and it starts to kind of hum. She holds it in her hand and like lets it go to where the axe head falls against her hand. She takes and she holds it out to you, spinning it over so that she's holding the axe head down and the handle out to you.
I take it.
It feels light, but it also feels like it's powerful, like it's gonna have some oomph behind it. She says to you, and you can see that very stern, no nonsense look in her face. Whoever it is that hurts you, bury it deep in them. Don't let them rise up again. Do you understand me?
If I let them close enough, yes.
If your friends need it, it is there for them as well.
As am I.
Of course you are. Go, my heart, and be safe. Drag them all down.
Big hugs for Mom and Dad, and I'm ready to leave.
As you are leaving, they walk with you out of town, and there's a small procession. They seem to be singing a song, and it's like an old Norwegian song. And you know this as like a battle requiem. I say a small procession, it's like 6 people. But as you watch, people like standing off to the side or kind of watching as you go.
We'll see you soon.
You will. You will. The train takes you back south to the port where you board your vessel. Accommodations have already been made for the lot of you. And before long, the vessel itself is set out. The trip across the water is not pleasant. It seems to buffet you and, toss you about. Any of those of you who are easily sick on the water, this is not a pleasant time for you at all. Eventually, though, the waters clear up and you find yourselves, after just a few days of travel, looking at the coastline of southern England. The south end on the sea lies open. It's basically a wharf with a few buildings. It's a very small place. The city of London towers off in the distance. You can see it because it's about. You wouldn't be able to see it, but it lies off in the distance because it's only about 40 miles from here to there. But there is a train that was ready to take you. As you approach the small location, a small man, and when I say a small man, I mean a small man who's as broad as he is tall, a long beard braided and tucked kind of into his shirt a little bit. He looks at you. I take it you're the ones that I'm looking for, then.
If you happen to be Mr. Chance, I believe so.
Aye. I'm the chance that everybody takes. Well, we've got passage booked for you to London. We've got some information for you as well. And by way of coin and a favor called in from someone, It looks like we have a few things for you. Now, my understanding is, though, that you have something that you might be able to trade with me. Nothing is free, children. So, what do you have for an old soul such as mine?
You know, I'm going to pull out the Wand of Secrets.
Oh. He leans back, kind of rocking on his heels and looking at it. You've brought me a stick? Oh, a marvel of such I've never seen. As though I could walk out and find one outside on my own.
This is a very interesting stick.
Oh, and why, pray tell, is that?
This has been identified for me as something called a Wand of Secrets. You can use
Marvelous.
it about 3 times a day. And if there is a secret door or secret hatch within a space of you, it will highlight it and let you know it exists. Could be
That's
quite useful for someone of our trade.
That is a good start indeed. What more? Greed won't take me. I don't want everything. I just need to make this worthwhile. Understand that I'm going against a lot of people who would rather not see me alive if they were to know I was helping someone on the resistance side.
Well, there's not a lot I have to give. Is there something we can do for you? Unless anyone else has something they want to put forward.
Well, I heard tell that one or more of you might be a gunsmith, if it were.
Aye, raised by one most of my life.
Could it possibly be that you've got something in there? And he kind of nods, like, at your general pack and things that, might be worthwhile. Something that'll let you reach out a long way and say hello.
Are you trying to allude to a firearm in general or something a little further distance?
Well, let's see what you've got.
I mean, I'll thumb over the pistols from Mom. Those aren't on the table. I will unravel the rifle.
All right. You put it together and like show him every part, all the parts of it.
Mm-hmm. If you're looking to reach out for somebody from a distance, this would be your best bet. You might want to recite it, as I've been using it for a while, but if that's what you seek, this should handle it.
I do believe that might be worthwhile. The 4 of you, then?
The 4 of us, yes.
All right, then. Come along. And he takes the rifle and breaks it down, like, carefully taking it apart again, and then leads you all through out of the little, like, lean-to fishmonger hut, and he walks briskly across the city. You can see that he has a bit of a limp as he walks. His left leg seems to be one that he favors. You're not sure, but you might have heard a clunk every once in a while as he steps. Um, as he does so, you eventually arrive at a train station. There sits a train with just a few cars. He sits there and talks to a man in a uniform with a hat on, clearly one of the conductors or the engineer. He points at the four of you and nods, and then you see them taking a moment to have a conversation. He throws his hands up in disgust, and you can hear heated words. I've already paid you my debt. You owe me this one. And you see the man like put his hands up, trying to calm him down. He reaches into his like this pouch that he has on his side, and you see him pull out several links of like what looks to be like gold chain that are all linked together but like separate sections, and he hands them to the man, putting them in his hand. The man kind of like bites to make sure that it's real gold, and you see him stuff them in his pocket. He looks at the four of you, and then he's like motions you over to where he's at. Mr. Chance walks by you and says, good luck in whatever your endeavors may be. Burn the bastards to the ground. For the dwarves. And he stomps off into the distance. The conductor tells you, all right, quietly, get on the train. It'll be leaving soon. If anybody asks, tell them to come find me. I'll be collecting tickets before long. I've got one car that you can all sit in. It's not comfortable, but it'll get you where you need to go. Quickly. And he steps aside, letting you onto one of the first cars, and you can see that it is a like a baggage or parcel car. Inside of it are packages, boxes, and things like that are stacked up tall. You can still see several porters moving things onto the vessel. Before long, though, he looks at the four of you and then closes the doors, and you can hear the heavy latch lock into place as he secures the door. He pats on it, and you hear the sound of a very familiar whistle being blown, signaling for all of the passengers to get on board. Before long, as you're all standing there or sitting there trying to get acclimated, it's not comfortable. There's not really places to sit. It's kind of like a narrow walkway, boxes of different sizes. You can try to find some place to perch. Hopefully, though, it won't take very long to get where you're going. Probably going to be about maybe an hour and a half. But as you're sitting there, that familiar lurch as your bodies shift to one side and back to right as the train starts slowly. You hear the sound of that powerful steam hissing as the pistons drive the wheels forward, the arms circling. Eventually, you hear as it starts off. The ride is uneventful. It's bumpy. Eventually, every once in a while, you hear stuff in the boxes shifting, but nothing seems to be doing a whole lot. And
I'm going to pull out the sending stone while we're riding along.
All right. You guys will give me just one hot second as you ride along. I'll be right back.
Welcome back.
Thanks. The family was coming back in, so I wanted to say hello.
Oh, no worries.
No more smudge. I just realized. Oh, no, nope, there's still a smudge. Oh well, whatever. You know, you pull that plastic film off and you expect it to be like whole, but there's literally a hole in the plastic film. It was just throwing me off. All right. Yep, no reading lips.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I figure we should
eventually,
probably let Colm know we're on the way. So,
sending stone.
yes, very, very short message through the sending stone.
On our way.
Um, I just had how I wanted to word this, and my brain just turned off. Troubleshooters inbound. May the directorate crumble.
He responds simply with, "Good to have you." The train bumps and careens over the tracks, eventually coming to a halt. You shift once more. All of the items in the hold shift as it comes to a stop. You hear the sound of the whistle as everybody disembarks. You're not sure how long you're going to stay in this cart, in this particular carriage. Eventually, you hear the doors being thrown open. The same man who ushered you on stands there with several porters. The porters pay you no mind as they come on to take packages off. He looks at all of you as he looks back and forth and then motions for you to follow him. As you disembark, you can see that this railway station is somewhere in the middle of London. You notice this as you look around, you can see familiar sights and sounds. It's been a while since you've been here. But you know exactly where you need to go and how to get there. And the bucket on the green awaits you. And as you make your way across town, we're going to take a quick break. Why don't we come back at the half an hour mark? Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay, never mind.
All right. So everybody watching will be back in about 15 minutes. Take a moment to get some water, refresh your drinks, or whatever you need. As we come back, hopefully we'll have a friend of ours joining us. Hopefully we will have Gej at that time. But we'll be back in like 15 minutes, everyone. Stay tuned. See you soon. Back. Thank you for our extended break period there. Apologies. And let's get everybody back up to speed. So, the decision was made. Logie was going to pass in the natural order. A stack of letters has come from Colm. They're toppling the directorate, and he at the helm of it. The team has made their way back to London and is about to creep their way towards the bucket on the green. We do have Gej with us, though not on camera. You just get to see my lovely face and Q's beautiful face. So, tracking back to the city, London is not well. Here and there you can see people moving to and fro, fighting over things. It is at best, it's an organized chaos. At worst, it is a place for the opportunistic to really rake those who are less fortunate over the coals. You can already see the rooks. Their territory seems to be in better shape. As you approach the bucket on the green, you can see that it is standing. There seems to be a perpetual dark cloud that hovers over London, even though it is still daylight. It is though pregnant rain clouds, angry with a potential torrential downpour, seems to hang overhead. There are no jaunty tunes coming from the bucket on the green as you approach the door. It stands as you enter in. Annie, your old friend, is sitting there with her brother and a few others sitting around looking at what appears to be a map of the city, an older map of the city. She looks up as you enter in. There's a sight.
Just a sight?
Well, hang on, I gotta get her tone in my head again. It's an awful lot to see you lot walking here again, isn't it, loves? Thought we've seen the last of you lot, but you're a sight for sore eyes, that you are. Come on, make yourselves at home. Bring it in. I'm sure you're looking calm.
The address he gave us was here, though, so.
Well, he comes and goes. That's what he does. Pops in, pops out. Seems to be he's always a busy one. That's all right, though. We've got troubles enough of our own. People trying to encroach on Hatchet Annie's land. Told them this is my land. But sometimes they don't take it. And then I have to go to my namesake.
The hatchet bit.
And that's the hatchet bit.
Speaking of, whatever happened to that little shit across town? Last we talked, someone seemed to be trying to encroach.
That little shit is now my number 2. Well, 3, technically. Philip is my number 2. But I figured there was more use out of that little scrump than having him hang and swing his little birds. They sort of lie hanging around this lot. So I figure, might as well. So we brought him into the fold proper. Not that we gave him much of a choice, really. Told him, you either join us or dead. What you know, He was all too keen to join up with old Hatchet Annie.
Glad to hear it worked out well.
For him, yeah. So, I guess we ought to bring you up to speed then, shall we? Most of London is freed. Closer across the river, you're going to find a lot more resistance from the Directorate. They're keeping people under their thumbs. They've given any cockeyed bastard with half of a mind a wand and letting them fling magic around like it's willy-nilly, and they got no point in it. It's a wonder that they can keep any of their own under control these days, honestly. Calm can be found most of the time up front lines, putting a stop to them what needs stopping. Philip here, and he waves at you. You notice he is missing, like his fingers here. They're not missing, but they're bandaged heavily, as is his hand. He waves and kind of looks and says, right, bit of an accident there. It'll be fine. I'll heal. Right. Comb. And he lays the map, and you can see that parts of it have been quickly colored in with like a yellow, and there are other parts that are not colored in yet. But it's broken into like different sections, like Greenwich and Southampton, and all these other places in there. So we are looking to move in on the Directorate's building itself. Take them out once and for all. Figure if we can get to the core of them, be done with them all, and then we wouldn't really have much of a problem anymore. And that's where Combs at right now. He's setting up a small forward operations unit. He's a right brain for tactics, that one. So he's setting up a bit of a forward operation unit here, closer to the capital, closer to the Directorate. And if you're looking for him, I suppose that's where you'll find him. Smack dab in the middle of it. He's got a bee in his bonnet, that one does. Something has crumpled his paper right proper. You lot wouldn't happen to know anything about that, would you?
Not quite. We've been away for a bit.
Of course.
Dealing with family troubles.
Family. Don't have much cause use for them. Nothing personal, Philip. Nothing taken, love. So, you lot are going to head that way then?
So you got something you can tell us that you think Colm might overlook?
To be perfectly honest with you, not really. I'm worried about him. He seems to have blinders on these days. He is hell-bent on bringing them down. But, like, not in a proper smart way. He seems to be throwing himself at it as though if it kills him, he's all the better for it. And I'll be perfectly honest with you, I'm not a fan of that idea. I like him. He's a good enough bloke. I hate to see him go out that way.
See what we can help, Annie.
That's all I can ask him, can it? Right. You're going to need some provisions before you go. So let's get you lot set up. And she kind of like motions, and a couple of people come forward, and they've got like just some like basic knapsacks. And inside of it are you guys have seen the military rations that they had at that time. and they're just stuffed in there for that. She's like, yeah, we got lucky. Had a few of those left over from the days. Figured now's a bit of time to use them and never. So if you can't use them yourselves, pass them out to them what needs them. Let them know the rooks should take care of them. And if they need anything, to find one of the yellow bands, they'll take care of them.
Do.
I might give a shit about owning every part of this as mine, but I do care about every part of it. So, if you come across anybody else who gives you what, take them out if you need to. Try to convert them if you can. Tell them we'll take them in. Their loyalty can be bought. Watch out for them wand wielders. They are the kind that'll shoot a spell and never ask a question about it.
Great. Thanks for the heads up.
Of course. Now, be on your way right proper. I'll send Ollie. And you see kind of this gangly man with like his limbs are a little too long. You know, he's really thin. He comes walking over. He kind of like glumps over, just big arms. Yeah, nee. Take him into the forward operations. Take him to where Colm is. Keep to the shadows. Keep to the alleyways. Keep out of sight. All right. Make sure you all get there alive, and then you bring yourself back here, quick. All right. And he galumps over to the door, looks at the lot of you. You could tell he's rail thin, but he's so tall. Like you can see he kind of has to stoop his head just a little bit to leave the door. And he's like, come on. And as he leaves, like motioning for you all to follow him.
Do we see Bruno anywhere around?
You do not see Bruno right now.
No.
Okay.
But you do see this guy.
I like it.
Oh, I was just curious to see if Bruno was still kicking.
Maybe, but he's just not here right now.
Okay.
All right. Following Ollie. Once he leaves and he's out in this wide open, he moves smoothly, like quickly. His long legs take him across the road into an alley with just a few strides, and he's there. And he stands in the shadow and he almost disappears when he gets into the alleyway. Again, there's light outside, but it's just overcast, so much so that it's almost like it might as well be like dusk. As soon as he hits the shadows, he leans out of them again, almost as though he's leaning through a curtain of black, and you can see it kind of like unfurl around him. Or at least that's the image you get. Maybe it's just a trick of the light or whatever. As he does, though, he motions you over to quickly follow him. And then he sort of, like as he motions you, he leans back into the shadow. And again, he's engulfed all but the arm that you can see, which eventually he pulls back and it disappears into the shadow as well. As you approach the alley where he's hiding, you realize that your eyes weren't playing tricks on you. He is literally like enveloped in this shadow. And as he steps out of it, it sort of like peels around him. It just sort of like moves around him. It's a shadow, and so it still has the properties of a shadow. As you step into it, it's just like a space. But he seems to have folded that shadow around him. And you watch as he moves quickly, and he says, before we go, everybody stand still. And he moves his fingers rather quickly. And as he does, you all seem to kind of watch these little tendrils that kind of like roll around you. Very fine tendrils of like smoke. Follow me. Stay very close. And we'll make it through. And with that, he starts galumping again, moving with those long strides of his legs. And you realize that as you're walking with him, like when he leaves his wherever his shadow is, it seems to take form and fall with him. And he uses it in the shadows, keeping to them to keep himself hidden. And you realize that you yourselves, as you get close to those shadows, you feel this like inky envelopment that comes around you. It doesn't feel slimy or gross or anything. It's just like you can feel this change in the atmosphere around you as you step in and out of the shadows. The walk takes you about 20 minutes to get to where you need to go. And as you arrive, you can see a several buildings that look as though they have been bombed out or the site of a battle, some sort of fight. Some of them are holed out, some of them are still standing. You can see their scorch marks, blackened areas. You don't see any remains, but you definitely could tell there's some sort of battle that's been taking place in this area. He leads you to a 3-story home. With the top of it, the roof looks like it's been partially removed. And as you get in there, him stepping from the shadows again, you find yourself standing in front of in front of this building. As you enter into the doorway, you can see that this has been set up as some sort of operation. There are people moving in and about. You count about 20 people. Some of them, give him a greeting, a quiet greeting. Ali, hello. As you finally enter in, he leads you to this back area that was once a dining room. The table is still there, but instead of having food and stuff like that on there, it is laid out with a map, and it is a building. And you know the building to be the directorate's main building, and it shows the different floors. Standing at the end of it, his hair unkempt, changing out his nice pea coat or his nice highwayman's coat for what looks to be like an early form of a tactical vest made out of leather, and a green shirt that's been rolled up at the sleeves. You can see Colm. As he looks up at you, his glasses are on his face. He pushes them back and looks at you a lot. Glad you can make it. Your particular skills could be quite useful here. Moonin, sorry to hear about your father.
Thank you.
Right. No time for niceties. Let's get down to business. He has several little like carved pieces, like they look like they're carved out of like stone or something. He's looking at the directorate building, and he starts laying them out on the basement floor. You remember that bottom floor being a holding area. We can slip in here. If we slip in through this location, we can plant the charges here, and he starts laying these little pieces out at key locations on this map. If we lay them all there, we can take the building down in one fell swoop. The whole thing will come crashing down on itself. The pillars taken out from underneath it. The casualties will be catastrophic. Hopefully, though, it will all mostly be directorate. We're talking about taking out the directorate building in one fell swoop. Charges at the base of the building. Blowing them up will cause it to crash down upon itself. The structure isn't held up by any unconventional means. It's a very conventional building.
Since we've been gone for so long, Colm, do you want to fill us in on what's going on?
Certainly. The directorate has tightened its noose on things with magic, and especially with Philip getting out. Word from the New World. And with what you've all experienced, and, well, what we all experienced, for some reason, they have come down hard on everyone. You are now only allowed to practice magic if you are sanctioned to do so. They make you wear carry papers. You have to prove that you're a sanctioned magic user. Those who aren't are dealt with severely. They've other groups like yourselves, but less scrupulous. Without any moral compass, they wield that power in a totalitarian manner. They feel that they are the only ones that are allowed to experiment, experience, and use these things. And I, for one, I don't abide it. It may have been that magic was forced into this world by an unseen hand, well, a seen hand that we know of. That being said, I won't stand for its abuse anymore. If we're going to have it, let us have it unfettered. So, I'm going to pull this thing apart. Literally, brick by brick.
Right, so you gonna have us planting charges, or do you have an idea for us?
We need a distraction. How are you at distracting people?
I'm ugly enough.
I've missed you too. I figured we could have you lot roll in there, cause enough chaos that several of our group will slip into the basement unseen. We have a plan to get them out. We'll set the charges and bring the whole thing down.
Are you sure it's just Directorate that's in there, Colm?
There will be an acceptable level of.
How many is acceptable? That's what they said during the war.
I know that's what they said.
A number, Colm. Because as far as I can recall, we still care about the people.
Between 20 to 28. Mostly in the holding areas.
So do you have a plan to get them out as well, or are they just going to go up in flames?
We can't get them out and
Can't
get the charges planted.
Can't or won't.
Can't. We don't have time. If we create a scenario where we're trying to rescue everything that's down there, we'll be found out. I don't like this route either. I would prefer that they gave up. Came out with their hands in the air. Surrender. That didn't work for me. We lost several.
And what if we could somehow make a distraction big enough?
How would you do that? You're talking about bringing something so large that they wouldn't even mind anything leaving the basement.
Well, do you plan on doing this in an hour?
No, we have some time.
Let's give us time to see if we can come up with something that doesn't make us just as bad as they are.
He takes his glasses off, pinches the bridge of his nose. Fine. I'm gonna grab a kip. Take some time, see what you can come up with. Bruno, I'm gonna take a bit of a nap. The large man that you are so familiar with peeks his head into the door. All right, but hello. Oh, it's you lot. I thought you was all dead. I'm glad I was wrong.
Nah, we're like a bad itch. Take more than that to get rid of us.
No, bad itch in the wrong areas. Can't get rid of you.
It's good to see you, Bruno.
Oh, it's good to see you too. Well, are you hungry? Are you tired? I'll give you some place to sleep and something to eat if you want. If it's all right, boss. Colm just kind of nods his head and pats Bruno on the arm. Of course, they're friends. Anyways, I'm heading upstairs, and Colm kind of nods at all of you. It's good to see you all again.
You too, Colm.
As he makes his way up the staircase. Bruno is dressed in a white button-down shirt with a leather vest that looks as though it's fighting for its life. Like, buttons are just like...
Big guy
he looks...
in a little coat.
Yes.
Exactly what I was thinking.
He looks fancy. Like, his shoes are like... They're old, and like you can tell they get that wrinkled like bend to them, but he looks like he's been polishing them or trying to take care of them. I'm a right proper gentleman now. Look at me. I've got a vest and everything.
You know, I thought something had changed about you, Bruno. I like it.
It's my profile. Right.
Is he wearing a
So-
hat?
Mm-hmm.
I know
No, he is not
the
wearing
original
a hat right now.
the original hat he had was lost, but I'm curious if he has found a new hat to enjoy in the interim.
He is not wearing a hat currently
Okay.
because he's indoors. So,
Mhm.
and a proper gentleman doesn't wear a hat indoors.
Fair enough.
He shuffles back into the back area, which you can tell is a kitchen. There is some clattering, and you hear the sound of metal hitting a stove. Before long, you hear the very familiar whistle of a kettle. He comes back in with a teapot it's a teapot. It's battered. It looks like it's seen better days. It's not fancy affair. He has a set of mismatched teacups, mugs, and he has some tea. Like, it's been a while. Would any of you care for a spot of tea? I have some sandwiches I can get for you as well.
You had me at tea, so please.
He very carefully, with his big stub of fingers, like lifts it up and pours you all like a cup of tea. Puts it down, sets it in front of you, has the sugar bowl with the little tongs. He takes a little thing of creamer and puts it out for you, and then he takes the tray back. He comes back in after a few moments, and you can see he has several biscuits, cookies, and some finger sandwiches, cucumber finger sandwiches there, and he puts them down. You all look well, and it's been a long time. Colm is not okay. He is very angry.
Do you know what made him so angry, Bruno?
He came in some days, back in the bucket on the green, talking about how nothing really mattered and that it was all a setup. And then he got angry and said if it's going to be this way, they ought to be true and pure. And Then he just said he was gonna tear them down brick by brick, and there's something he says a lot, brick by brick. But funny thing is, I don't think he's talking about a directorate. I think there's something else he's going on about.
What do you think that
I
is?
I don't know. We was in the forest. This was about a month ago, and he was like there was a demon in his eyes. He was hell bent on finding a spot out there, and when he found it, it was a doorway, just a simple door, and it was set in a tree, and it was the dampest thing I ever seen. He opened it, and there was a building inside of the tree, and then he blew it up. He cut down a tree and burned it all.
What did the inside
And
of that building look like, Bruno? Did you see it?
it was made out of stone, mostly stone. I didn't really see much else other than that. But the look on his eyes, I'll never forget it. It wasn't calm. It was something totally different there. It was like calm took a trip, whatever this fella was. He wasn't in a good place. I tried to give him some tea with chamomile, 'cause it's supposed to help calm your nerves. Or is that Bellarmine? I don't remember. There's so many different kinds, it's hard to keep up with sometimes.
It was this tea you've made for us is phenomenal. When
Thank you. I've been practicing on making tea. When they knight me, I've got to make sure that I'm proper wood in front of the queen.
my heart. He gets a large smile from your boy. That's right.
So, what have you been doing in all this time?
Attending to family problems.
Oh, family. It can be a real heartbreak at times, can't it?
That it can. I am real ready to start some problems.
Oh, I do like starting problems. So, what are we going to be doing? A bit of the old rough and tumble in? Knocking heads together?
It seems if we can't come up with a different plan, we get to be a distraction.
I'm wrong for that.
What sort of plan? What sort of plan do you need to come up with?
The sort of plan that makes it to where we can help the people that they've captured, but not lose our people in the process as well. That way it's a
I,
gain, not loss.
I remember going in there and fighting to get Philip free. Why couldn't we just make one of them doorways? Like you see them doorways that pop up and the people go through them. Could we do something like that? we take the elevator. Not a lot of them can fit on the elevator at one time.
I don't know how to make doorways.
That's fair.
I know how to make holes, but not doorways.
I know how to make fat lips.
Have you seen someone that can make doorways, or no?
No, yeah. I've seen Philip make a doorway once. But like, only him and Annie went through it. It was like opened and then they were gone.
That could be an idea.
Many as we can.
But that would mean that like a lot of people will have to cast it, right? Because if you step through it and it disappears, then it doesn't go anywhere.
And
What
somehow-
else can we do?
I mean, I can always sneak my way in there, as long as there's no sort of secret handshake that I need to know.
It's a lot of risk on you.
At least get, I can at least get some doors unlocked. Maybe start some sort of riot from the inside to keep the distraction there, and then bring the distraction from the outside in.
You're way smarter than I am. I don't quite understand that.
I would just need somebody to copy. If we can grab someone.
What if we didn't do it anywhere near the Directorate building at all?
What do you mean?
They have to have posts set up in the city. I mean, we had our guard towers along the trenches. I mean, of course, we had a central place where we'd go, where we'd recoup, but we'd also have places stretched along so everyone could keep an eye on no man's land. What if we go through and strategically lay assault on those? And in the chaos of them having to go out and figure out what's going on their front lines, we slip in through the back line.
So instead of making a problem right here, making a problem over there so they come running that way.
Right. Set their city on fire.
But it would have to be big enough for them to really warrant it, right?
Right.
What were you suggesting then?
How many of those charges do you have?
We can make a lot of them. How many do you want?
I mean, that's a whole lot of ruckus right there.
Start setting off a bunch of bombs.
But then we would have to wait for them to leave.
It wouldn't take long.
That's true.
And whatever's left behind is going to be a lot less. I mean, of course, they'll leave their ones posted, but with enough of us, that's easy. Fairly so.
I would happily people and bash them in the head like I did for you that one time. It was fun.
Would love to have you there.
I think that maybe Colm will like this idea.
Hope so, because that's all I've got. Planning was
Well,
never my strong suit.
Make that plan A. My plan could be a backup. We want to try it. And then, if not, I don't know what else we can do.
I trust you to do it. You've pulled yourself out of any sticky situations before, but this time you don't know what sort of defenses they have set up on the inside.
Unless we find somebody who has been on the inside, but it's a lot of talking around, so I'm not sure in that sense. Or we find somebody, I take their appearance, I get the information from them by means a little unpleasant, and
Bruno
go
looks
from
at you
there.
and goes,
No. You can do that afterwards, but I have my ways, Bruno. Might use you as intimidation, though, if that's alright.
I can do that. I'm pretty good at that, I'll be honest with you.
Most excellent at it, actually.
Comes to it, I'd be happy to help any way I could as well.
Unless any of you have a large... Unless any of you have a large mythical beast with what you can swear up on the city, I think that's our best idea. I mean, if a dragon came down out of the sky, they'd all go running, wouldn't they?
We don't know any of that. No, we don't know any of this. Gotta get it out of my
Different
head.
game. It's a different game.
That's true. Yeah, I remember that now. I was like, "Do I know dragon?" Wait, yes, I do. Okay, hold
Thinking back to all the weird stuff that was caught in stasis, like, was there a dragon in there? I don't think there.
I wonder if Richard knows any dragons. I'd have to give him something in return, probably, and I'm not ready to make that. I'm not ready to make that bet yet. So
A wholehearted hug.
that would be me. Yep. And I don't think Richard would want that.
Some sort of hug, all right, but with a lot more steps.
Yeah.
A complicated hug?
Yes,
Yeah.
a very complicated hug.
A very
Like-
complicated hug.
See, amorous hugging would be like a hug, but with a pillow in between.
Like a plastic
Like
sheet,
the
or maybe
6
even a
inches ruler,
bodyguard.
save room for Jesus, like slow dancing in a
Yeah, it's a hug, but
school
it's
dance.
just a pat on the shoulder.
A
No.
hug.
6
It's a
inches
hug.
for Jesus.
We can't
Save
see
it.
light, it ain't working. Hate that.
Ah, That's the-
No,
that's the
Emrys
church
isn't that much
dance.
of a prude.
I love this group so much.
That's the church dance. You had to save room for Jesus. They walked around with a ruler.
Mm-hmm.
You have to slow dance like a waltz.
Like from
Uh,
an arm's length.
yes,
Like-
it was the most awkward
Straight arm
white
it.
children slow dancing straight armed.
You just shuffle from foot to foot, like, yep, this is dancing.
That's exactly it.
I think a hug with Richard would literally be me constantly moving his hand off of my ass and back up to like my back.
100%.
Oh,
Just snap his arm out of socket. Now let's see you do it.
You forgot.
Switches to other
I'm a
hand.
pigman.
He just forms another hand. It's like, oh, I hate you.
you forgot that's not a dagger. That's not a that's a dagger in my pants, not something else.
Is that a dagger in
I'm
your
not
pocket,
guilty,
or are
Richard.
you happy to dance with me?
Bing. Dagger.
Oh,
Neat.
Yes. I can get real stabby, but not in a way you'll enjoy.
Or will you?
Huh?
So as you guys ruminate over these ideas, you do have some time because Colm is stacked out right now. You have the formation of a plan to cause a distraction elsewhere. Unless one of you two who have voices in your head, or if the cleric amongst you would like to reach out for any sort of divine intervention to either of the warlocks want to talk to their patrons.
After my
I feel
last
like that's always a
conversation,
hard no from Moonin. It's
after
always a
my
hard
last
no.
conversation with my patron, I'm gonna have to say pass.
No.
See, and I'm semi on good talking terms with mine, so
It's not that I'm not on good talking terms. It's just I don't want to hear what they have to say anymore.
that's what say. Are you sure about that? After you told them no, basically.
Yeah.
They weren't angry. They just
That's-
said,
Hmm.
I see. So be it. All right. Then, with a plan mostly formed and an evening full of cookies and finger sandwiches with Bruno, Sir Bruno of the East End, we are going to call it here for the night. Ladies and gentlemen, last episode of the year. We will be back again on January 3rd with the last few episodes of this season. We will then take a break, and after that, we will have the last season of the Troubleshooters. That's right. There'll be 4 seasons. As the fall of London and the Directorate are soon to be at hand. But what more could they possibly have entail? What more could there be? That's why
Will
you need
we
to
ever
tune
find
in.
out what fast food is?
That's why you need to tune in on Mondays between 6 and 9 Central to find out what's going on with the Troubleshooters. We will be taking a break. Again, we'll be gone for 2 weeks. We'll be back on the 3rd of January for our first episode in the new year. Please make sure you tune in. As a matter of fact, we're all taking a break. All of our shows, this will be the last show they have for the next couple of weeks. That being said, we do have a special event on the 23rd from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. and a normal slot time. We would be doing a DMs night where all of our DMs from Dire Bear and we'll be getting together to run and play and have a good time. Look forward to it. Please join us as we celebrate the holidays. For those of you out there, if we don't talk to you before then, I want to wish you all a happy Hanukkah or a Merry Christmas or a happy Kwanzaa or whatever holiday you celebrate. I wish you the best of it and the merriment that you find. Find your family, give them hugs. I know a lot of us are seeing our family for the first time. As I mentioned at the top of the show, I spent the last week, I had strep throat, so I wasn't able to speak. But I spent that Saturday with my family, and I got to see my brother, who I haven't seen in 4 years or probably a bit more than that. So it was really good to see everybody. But yeah, go and hug your family if you can and spend some great time just finally getting a holiday that might be a little bit quasi back to normal. Again, in February, I will be in Fort Wayne, Indiana, running games. So if you're in the Chicago area, it's only about, I think it's maybe like an hour and a half, I think. I don't know. I haven't done the math. If you're in Indianapolis, we are only like 2 hours from there. But come up and see us in Fort Wayne as we run D&D. I'll be running games all weekend. And you can meet me and Emily and a bunch of other people from this area. And then again in May, we'll be running the first ever where Dire Bear is the responsible party, God save us all, for running all the D&D at the inaugural event for RPG Con here in Huntsville. I am looking for DMs, so if you want to make some extra money on that weekend, come talk to me and we'll see what we can do. In the meantime, I want to thank our beautiful players for being here with me today, Otter and Q and Voodoo, who snuck in here at the last minute. Thank you all for coming out, and I look forward to seeing you all again in the new year. In the meantime, happy holidays, everyone. Take care. We will see you all December 23rd. If not, we'll see you all in the new year. Take care, everyone. Love you guys.
Happy holidays.
Much
Happy
love.
holidays.
Stay healthy.
Happy Chrysler.
Merry Crisis.
Merry Christmas.